Hey everybody, it's Anchorman here. We're back with our new podcast, the Multiverse Podcast, Episode 2. I'm here with KOR Kal El from Tick Podcast.
Hey, it's your boy KOR. You know the dilly.
And we got some comics to talk about. Before we do that, we got a couple business things we got to put out of the way. First of all, remember to go check out DC vs. Marvel Comics on Facebook. Link to that's in the description below. They are a channel, not a channel, but a Facebook page that puts out regular DC and Marvel content on the regular. You can go check it out. It's a lot of fun. I'm admin there, known as Shazam. You can check out all that kind of good stuff there. Also, we're going to talk about the contest reminder. We had a contest starting, it was like 2 weeks ago, last week. I don't remember.
It was not 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's about 2 weeks ago. On a Wednesday. We started the contest. The contest is you have to answer the question we posed at the end of the episode, and this is the chance for you to win the $25 iTunes gift card or the customized Multiverse podcast desktop or Xbox One theme on your for your Xbox or your PC or whatever. This is your opportunity to win one of those two great prizes. And the question in order to win the grand prize was, what is the middle name of Kal El's, the podcaster on this show? What is the middle name of his son? Comment the answer in the comment section below. The first comment, the correct answer, will win. Answer that question from the last episode. You can go back, and the link to that is in the description below, and you can check that out for your chance to win big. Okay. Our explained topic. Jeez, my voice sounds... you guys must get tired of hearing my voice. So our explained topic for today is, what is Marvel's Civil War, and how does one go about reading it? Now, Civil War has a larger importance nowadays, as they have announced that Captain America 3 will be focused around this particular event. Mm-hmm. Real quick, what is Civil War? Civil War is a multi-comic expansive event that spans pretty much every single Marvel comic in the 616 universe, revolving around the Superhuman Registration Act. There is an event that occurs where I think it's 80 children are killed in, I think it's Connecticut actually. They're killed in Connecticut due to an accident caused by the New Warriors, and this caused a lot of outrage and led to the Superhuman Registration Act. Now, this act divided the lines between Captain America and Iron Man, and this is where you see the classic clash begin. Now, this is actually really a pain in the butt to read, because there's a lot of different content going on. There's a lot of different problems, and it's really really frustrating to read, because when you start off and you're trying to find out how to understand what was going on in terms of context, what's going on with all these characters, and there's really a bunch of ways to go about it. But the following way is the easiest way I've had in order to read it. You can find these volumes in your local comic book store, and they even have these like at Barnes & Nobles or Books A Millions. You can actually find these comics in those stores, and they're considered classic enough to still be on shelves. So the first one I like to start off with, I like to start off reading Illuminati, or it's called Road to Civil War. It's a little series where it just has the larger characters like Fantastic Four, or at least specifically Reed Richards, Iron Man, Black Bolt, Charles Xavier, Doctor Strange, and Namor. Those characters they formed a group called the Illuminati, where they kind of sit in the back scenes and kind of twist around certain aspects of the Marvel Universe. It sets up like what happened to characters such as Hulk and Thor, why they're not in Civil War, and those sort of things. Then I like to pick up with the Wolverine series, which follows the direct consequences of the explosion in Connecticut. And it's just a great way to understand the immediate repercussions of it. Then there's the actual Civil War comic, which goes through all the details of what happened in the Civil War. And then I like to follow it up with Captain America, and follows his perspective and all the background stuff on his end. I like to follow up with Iron Man after that. And then I read Spider-Man because Spider-Man has a very influential role, and that's why it was such a big deal when Sony allowed Marvel to use Spider-Man finally in their own Disney movies. So I like reading Spider-Man because it gives you a different perspective of switching sides in particular. I like to read Fantastic Four to find out how that split the first family of the Marvel Universe, and then I like to finish it up with some X-Men because X-Men is there's actually quite a few volumes of the X-Men series because there's so many X-Men to cover on how they fall in this particular one. But it doesn't end there, and this is just more just as like a bonus round, if you will. I like to read Punisher War Journal right after that because during this event it's hero on hero problems, and then there's eventually they bring in some supervillains, but Punisher really focuses on ending the rest of the crime in the city from some of the smaller villains that no one gets a lot of attention to, like the Owl and Kingpin's gang, things like that. And then there's also, I think it's called War Crimes or something like that, and it's specifically from a villain's point of view of what's going on in Civil War. Jeez, I talked a lot.
Yeah.
So
it was very informative, though. A lot of people will really appreciate that. People who want to get into Civil War and understand why one of the greatest superheroes in the history of Marvel was assassinated, actually, in a certain way, if you could say that.
Yeah.
I don't want to give away any spoilers for those of you who don't know, but obviously the series is an amazing series with a lot of twists, a lot of turns, and a lot of surprises. It's something that you guys should definitely pick up and check out.
Yeah, well, I think one of my favorites in the entire section of it, I like Ben Grimm's story from the Fantastic Four line because in the series they really don't focus on conscientious objectors too often, and and this isn't really a spoiler as much as just a side note. Ben Grimm takes as a conscientious objector point of view, where he says both sides are stupid, and I don't want to fight for either one, and he removes himself from the situation. And I think that was great to see that sort of view. And Civil War gets panned a lot for political grandstanding in some regards. Because, like, for me, like I viewed it more as a gun rights kind of argument. But there's a lot of other ones.
You'd be surprised at how many comics actually really focus on today's world and the things that happen in that time. Like, for example, a lot of people don't realize that when Xavier and Magneto were created, they were based on Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. So, that's something that a lot of people don't realize. And a lot of times when you look at these comics and you look at the Civil War, the Human Registration Act, Magneto and the Genova, when you look at those type of things, it actually has a lot to do with that period in time in history or certain political things that's happening in the world today that they implement into the comic books. So it's really good to read some of the things and actually see or try to recognize, hey, look at this time period of when this comic came out and think about what happened in that era in time, and maybe you'll find two things that connects the dots to the comic and what happened in the real world.
Definitely, that's definitely right. So now that we've talked about that topic for a little bit, we got the news to go on today. Not a lot of movie news per se, as much as last time, or TV news, but we got big news within terms of the comics. We're going to talk about a hashtag movement called Change the Cover. In Batgirl issue number 41 by Raphael Albuquerque, he featured a variant cover, which is now on your screen. And it's kind of harkening back to the Killing Joke, Alan Moore's particular his story. And just to describe it for those of you who aren't watching the screen for various reasons, it's a shadow Joker with his hand drawing a little blood smile over Batgirl's face, who she looks absolutely terrified, and on his left hand has a pistol draped over her shoulder, and she looks completely terrified, and he is smiling in his traditional Joker manner. And it looks a little disturbing, but it definitely harkens back to the Killing Joke, which is an iconic storyline, especially for Joker. I would even argue that this is one of the best storylines in terms of just and of all comics, definitely in the top 100. But And anything you want to throw in it before we start getting into the nitty gritty, Cal?
No. I think you got that pretty covered. I'm not too familiar with that. I haven't seen much on it, so I don't want to make myself look like a fool in this area and then be shown up by somebody in the comment section. So I'll stay away from that topic.
So the big issue is there has been an outroar by those who will be described as social justice warriors for various reasons, and they're mostly going on saying, "Hey, this is a terrible cover," and like from what I've seen, there's no real justification. It says it makes Batgirl look weak. It's stuff like that, and honestly, my impressions of the whole thing is that it's just a variant cover. It's not even the real cover. It's just a harkening back to a storyline that. Okay, screw it. We're gonna just say it. Batgirl gets paralyzed from that story. If you don't know it, I'm sorry. Too bad. Go look it up. It's really. She gets paralyzed from it. It's a very, very pivotal story in her past, and the cover harkens back to that. It's a pivotal moment in her role, and they are going to deny her history because it makes them feel uncomfortable. It's a variant cover. Jeez, come on. I don't even think the people who are criticizing the cover even understand the importance or the historical significance of such a cover.
I think that the thing is, when it comes to these type of comics and it comes to women's rights, for some apparent reason, and again, it's something like we said earlier, politics always plays a role in it. We've already had the whole Gamergate situation. Recently, we've had the actress who won the Emmy Award. I believe her name is something Arquette. I can't remember, but she had this grand speech about fighting for equal rights for women and civil rights for women, and things like that. And it seems like this year and last year is the year that it seems like women have become like a second citizen all of a sudden. Now, I'm not saying that there's not a double standard, compared to men. There clearly is a double standard. But I think in this instance, it might have been a little bit overblown in that regard. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that, the political aspect of, them calling out the cover and having it changed because of the defining moment of what the image portrays her as in the image, do you think that is really being blown out of proportion? Do you think there's actually substance behind it?
I think this is something that happens in the age of the internet, and a very wise man once told me this. One of the benefits of the internet is that it allows everybody to have a platform to speak, and one of the downsides of it is that it gives everybody a platform to speak. And I think this is one of the situations where you have people who do not understand the historical significance of the comic, that do not understand why this comic totally fits everything in this particular variant cover. And they are given a position to speak, and they're just going off of one picture, and they don't know anything about Batgirl other than the Arnold Schwarzenegger, George Clooney, 1990s, a bastard of Batman films, Batman Forever. Not Batman Forever, my bad, that's a good movie. Batman and Robin.
Right.
Josh, take away my nerd card, damn it. But, it's one of those things where nobody actually knows anything about the character. They're just going off of what they've seen from TV and movies, and they get a position to speak, and they're going to ruin it for everybody else. And it's not even something that's worthwhile. That's the worst part. It's not even something like it's something that's actually going to matter. It's just a variant cover, and it's frustrating to me to see that happen.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But it's like that. If someone talks enough and makes enough noise, it brings enough attention. Nobody wants negative attention. Sometimes they say that bad attention is also, they say that bad publicity is good publicity. But in some instances, bad publicity can actually be bad publicity. It's one thing if you have a platform to talk about and you're trying to get attention, and then, that brings attention to you. It's another thing when you're trying to sell a product. You don't want negative attention when you're trying to sell a product, because people speak with their wallets. And if that negative attention is actually making noise, then you might have to make a decision to change the cover. And it's unfortunate because it kind of hurts the freedom of expression. I don't think it's as negative as people make it out to be. But then again, we're men. So what do we know?
All right. And also following this in the recent minutes, we've actually been doing this. We had an update of sorts coming in from to us that DC has actually pulled the cover. They're not going to publish the variant cover any longer or whatever. This actually comes from the author himself, Raphael Albuquerque. He states that this is a direct quote. Link to this will also be in the description below. It says, my Batgirl variant cover artwork was designed to pay homage to a comic that I really admire, and I know it's a favorite of many readers. The Killing Joke is a part of Batgirl's canon, and artistically, I couldn't avoid portraying the traumatic relationship between Barbara Gordon and the Joker. For me, it was a creepy cover that brought up something from the character's past that I was able to interpret artistically, but has become clear that for others, it touched a very important nerve. I respect these opinions, and despite whether the discussion is right or wrong, no opinion should be discredited. My intention was never to hurt or upset anyone through my art. For that reason, I have recommended to DC that the variant cover be pulled. I am incredibly pleased that DC Comics is listening to my concerns and will not be publishing the cover art in June as previously announced. With all due respect, Rafa. This frustrates me. This really does. And geez, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I really don't, because to see enough people moan and complain about something that, one, they don't really care about, it frustrates me. It really does. And DC seems to be fine with it. They have a statement below basically saying, yeah, we're going to pull it regardless of if we think it was right or not. Threats of violence and harassment are wrong and have no place in comics or society. And honestly, there's no way to talk to DC about it because they won't listen. And I don't know what to do. I might just have to stop buying DC comics.
Yeah, no, I just think that, no matter how you look at it, man, I think at the end of the day, the people are going to moan and groan about things that they just don't like, and sometimes it sucks that these companies have to conform to that because they're a business. And once again, like I said earlier, you don't want negative press, you don't want negative publicity, you just don't want to leave a stain on anything that you're trying to sell. And at the end of the day, the comic book is a product and you're trying to move it, and if it starts to hit headlines, if it starts to hit your CNN news or your Fox News or your MSN News, then that becomes a problem. And I don't think anything like that should be hitting your.
And I don't think it actually hit any of the bigger news things either. I just think that it's so frustrating to see that this happens all the time now. I mean, DC has been under so much scrutiny, and I stuck by them when they had like the whole issue with what was it? Remember the Harley Quinn bathtub suicide thing?
Right. Yes, I do remember.
Like they had that contest,
yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that was really messed up. But I mean, I stood by him on that one. I said, yeah, it's a pretty weird thing to say. It's a really weird thing to do. But and I don't particularly like it, but I'm not going to stop buying comics over it. But this has been routine now. They have been criticized over and over and over again, and this time they just keep bowing to the whims. And I'm like, really? You're going to sacrifice your art? You're going to sacrifice potentially your style? Because at this point in time, Marvel's gotten so like homogenized to the point they're like, oh yeah, we're family friendly, sort of, not really, but we're going to pretend we are. And DC has the chance to be more edgy and grab that whole other market. And every time they do that, they get pulled down.
Right, I agree. So, what do we have next up?
Next up on the agenda is to talk about, again, DC. Let's talk about these new costumes. To my understanding, New 52 is going to be ending. I think they considered it a failure of sorts. I don't think it grabbed enough readership to warn people, or at least sway people over. We have a couple of pictures we are going to put up for you, showing these various variants for these new costumes that they're going to go through. We're going to go through one by one. We'll start with Cal's opinion first, and then we'll jump into mine. Give my throat a chance to rest a little bit. So, what's the first one on our list, man?
Yeah, I mean, so far, I'll be honest with you, I really love the way Flash looks. I like the new design. It's a darker red. It's not too vibrant, like not too bright, which is really appealing. I like the dark colors around the shoulders and the inner thigh and kneecaps area. And I love the fact that he's got these lighter boots instead of just being this all red color. I think that, what's really going to be really awesome is when he starts running, I can imagine seeing these different colors with that, how he leaves that, I guess you could say that, that trail behind him. Yeah, the speed trail behind him is probably going to look really, really sick. I love the new outfit on him. Even his new helmet, his new mask looks really hot as well.
Mm-hmm. For me, I agree with you. The speed trail is going to look great. It's going to start with that yellow, then that darker red, and then the lighter red, and all the lightning stuff on there too. It's not too much of a leap from the prior iterations. It kind of mirrors the TV show a little bit, like especially around the helmet. You can kind of see like where the grooves of the helmet are, and like the little lightning bolts kind of accentuate that a little bit more.
Right.
And a little chin guard thing. You see like the chin, goatee.
Yeah.
It's a darker costume, but ultimately I don't think they like took any real chances with this particular one.
No, not at all.
But I think it looks good overall. I think it looks fine. So moving on to Green Lantern. What do you think?
All right, so I'll say this. Okay, Green Lantern looks like he's homeless. No disrespect to anybody that knows anybody that's homeless, or But listen, the guy's rocking a trench coat. He's supposed to be a galaxy cop. He's supposed to be policing the galaxy. The man should have a uniform. Now, at the top of the picture, it says Renegade. Now, the only thing that I could assume from this is that maybe he was a cop, he's going rogue, something's happened, and now he's resisting, the system. Whatever the reason is.
And you would be correct on that one, because my understanding is that the storyline that's come to the place is that there was an event that tarnished the reputation of the Green Lantern Corps, and he gave up his ring or something, but he went rogue to take all the bad press away from the Green Lantern Corps. He stole like this prototype green gauntlet kind of thing. That's why he's got like this power fist.
And I'm going to tell you right now, that's hot. Now the gauntlet is hot. I like that. I like that a lot. I like that actually more than I like the ring. To be honest with you, being able, and the reason why I say that is that the ring is cool. Don't get me wrong, the ring is cool, but it's a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet. When you have that fist in the air and that thing has all that green energy surrounding your hand, it's the gauntlet, not the ring. And I think that that's really impressive. The fact that he, the image itself makes him look more powerful than normal, honestly.
Oh yeah, definitely too. Because my understanding is that he's got like a pack on his back that gives him a constant energy source too. He doesn't have to recharge.
Wow.
Or at least recharges often. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, because I don't think anyone has a chance to read it yet. But yeah, I think it looks dope. Yeah, I think it does. It looks like a darker thing. It's like it's kind of like he stole Green Arrow's hood.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, maybe him and Green Arrow's been hanging out a bit too much. Too much green things happening.
Yeah. And speaking of Green Arrow, that's actually the next person on our list.
Mm-hmm. I like Green Arrow. I think they didn't stray too far from Green Arrow. I mean, it's not much you can do. He has to keep the whole Robin Hood, type effect where it's Green Arrow. I think if you stray too far, you might get him confused with a Lantern Corps member. But he looks cool. The cut off sleeves, the hood is still there. He has the arrow. He actually has a gauntlet himself, strapped around his wrist, which is pretty cool in itself.
That seems to be the biggest derivation from it. They just have, we have this cool little gauntlet thing.
Yeah,
I don't know, what do you call them, like cuffs, or I don't know what to call them.
Yeah, they're like type gauntlet type cuffs. Yeah, they go over the wrist in the forearm area. So, he looks good. The bow and arrow looks good. Obviously, he has an arrow pack on his back. I think, honestly, though, I know that he uses a hood, and I know back in the day he had the whole hat thing going for him, the Robin Hood hat thing. But I felt like, if you were really going to take him to the next level, I think the mask doesn't do him justice. I feel like he probably should have had like a real mask. Something maybe Flash-like, something Batman-like that covers his entire face. I thought that would have probably been really, really great in itself. Because honestly, I mean, as a superhero, The whole eye cover thing is not really cutting it.
Oh, the domino mask?
When you're trying to
God.
protect your identity, it's not really cutting it for me, but everything else seems cool.
There's not many blonde-haired people running around anymore. I'm sorry, but if you saw a guy who was a complete natural blonde in a green outfit who clearly has a lot of money in order to afford all these arrows,
Right.
you're going to put two and two together fairly quickly.
Right.
But yeah, I think so too. But let's move on to Wonder Woman here. Let's see what you think about that.
Well, it looks like the people from the Batgirl protest has come over to DC again, and now they have Wonder Woman completely covered. I've never seen her have more clothes on in my whole entire life. We've all known Wonder Woman as like to be the sexy heroine with the chest plated armor and the Amazonian, very pro woman, very what's the word I'm looking for, kind of like like an Amazon. You're from a island of women. Everything is about women. It is all about power, and no man can dominate you. You'll never be defeated by any man. But also it was very revealing, and it seems in this one they've made her, obviously they've changed her, the little gauntlet she used to have around her wrists, her little wristbands that deflected bullets. They've given her dual blades, which is honestly is very, I won't say warrior like. Honestly, this isn't really Wonder Woman like, if you can say that. Wonder Woman, yeah, she carries a sword sometimes, but usually she uses her fist and she has a lasso of truth. This just seems like she is a battle maiden, ready for war at all times with these blades coming out of her wrists. Obviously, you have the boots that go all the way up. She's completely covered. Parts of her body is covered in some type of armor with the shoulder pads and things like that. I don't know. I'm not really feeling the costume too much. I do like the color scheme, though. The color scheme is awesome, but I'm not really feeling the costume. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually think it's the best one out of the whole bunch. I think it's great. I could definitely see it being a more wintry wear particular thing. I could see like a variation of it later, like the darker blue parts, like around the chest,
right,
the upper chest, and the arms. Those just becoming just skin,
right,
later on. Mm-hmm. I could see that, but I think even then she still is like plenty clothed and has enough armor to look. I think she looks good though. I think it's something, and she does come off as more of a warrior, which is something that's kind of like. Yeah, if you see someone try to do a sexy cosplay of this, there's no real way to do a sexy cosplay.
I'll tell you right now, if you take those blades away, she reminds me of Watchtower secretary. She just seems like she has a business suit on and she's going to work. That's how it looks. If you take the blades away, she looks like she's like business Wonder Woman right now. Honestly, I'm not a fan of it.
I like the priest collar. Look at the collar. It looks like a little,
right. She has
like
the collar.
Catholic priest deal.
Yeah, it's like she has the collar. She's got on like the pantsuit pants. The fake like little dress just to cover up just a little bit. The high knee boots. Not a fan of it.
I think it looks fine personally, and I just geez though, you're gonna, if you think like, okay, they really dressed her up. But look at Superman here.
This is disappointing to see. First of all,
this is Superman, not Superboy.
First of all, why does he look like he has some type of, what is in his hand? Are those?
He's got. It looks like a wrapped, like finger wrap.
What is that? What is that going to do?
Like a boxer thing.
What is that going to do,
it's
Superman?
It's covered in blood.
What is that going to do, Superman? Do you not have any powers? Because I can tell you right now, whatever you have wrapped is still going to crush any opponent you swing at. That's not going to do anything for protection against an opponent. So I don't know why he has his hands wrapped. I'm not.
Oh, maybe it's not to get blood all over his new clothes. Yeah. Those are blood drenched.
I'll tell you right now, this is really disappointing. There is this right here really took no work. I felt like there was no imagination that went into designing Superman. This is one of the most iconic heroes in all the world. The two most recognizable symbols in the world is Batman's symbol and Superman's S Hope symbol. The two most recognizable symbols in the world. And this is how you treat this iconic character. You give him a t-shirt Though I do love the Superman symbol.
It's like that old
It's pretty
George.
dope.
What was it?
Yeah, I know you're
What was
talking
it?
about.
The 1950s TV version.
Yeah,
That's what it looks like. I like that.
That's pretty
That
badass. The large S, the black background with the yellow goldish outlining is pretty dope. But Superman in a pair of jeans and a blue shirt, it's not cutting it. Complete fail on DC's part. Very disappointed. Highly disappointed, actually.
Now, this is my thing about it. I understand that they gave Superman a new power, which is like a solar flare thing, and that does like take away his powers for 24 hours. If this is an alternate suit that like he wears like when he loses his powers, so he doesn't necessarily become a target for everybody to try and kill him, I could see this being like if I need to, I could pull out like this. Okay, I'm Superman for a bit, save anybody from small crimes, kind of stuff. But like, imagine him walking around in this regular suit when he doesn't have his powers.
Right now, anybody that sees that S is immediately going to go in for the kill. If he wanted to be discreet about being Superman because he has no powers, he needs not to have that S on his chest.
Yeah, maybe it's a special shirt that turns it away when he doesn't want it. I don't know.
I know it's a fail. That's what I do know.
Jeez. And let's look at Batman.
Oh my god.
In my understanding, this is not Batbot.
First of all,
this is Batman.
This is wrong in itself. Why does Batman have a gun? This is
That's
a complete failure. They just failed on two. I'm actually so disappointed that I'm seeing this right now. This is unbelievable.
This is the first time he's viewing this.
This is absolutely horrendous. It's first of all, if you look at the back of his back, right? He has a blue light and a red light. Do you know what that is? Those are sirens.
Stun or kill.
Those are sirens.
Oh God.
He's like Bat Cop. He's like RoboCop is Bat Cop. Holy smokes. He has a pistol in one hand, rockets on his shoulders. I am completely blown away by this. Oh my God, they failed. This is a failure.
I'm really hoping this isn't really Batman.
This can't be real. This has to be like some alternate universe or something like that. Maybe this is like a part of the what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe it's a part of the Injustice series. Maybe it's like year 4 or year 3. Or
what I'm hoping this is, I'm hoping it's someone like Batman leaves to go do something important. Or like he's going to Apocalypse, or I don't know, somewhere off world, and someone took up the mantle and made a robot with flappy ears. Stupid rabbit.
Stupid. He looks horrendous.
Oh man, it doesn't even look like a bat. It looks like a dark rabbit.
You know what?
It looks like the Tick. It looks like the Tick.
He definitely looks like the Tick. Robo-Tick. Oh my God, Robo-Tick. No, man. I'll tell you right now though, what they're gonna have to do. They should have never given up on a New 52. They should have figured out a way to rewrite the New 52.
They should have had like a way for them to like blend the old and the New 52 together.
Yeah,
that would have been better.
That would have been better.
They remember like both paths.
They
remember both paths and condense
something. They should have done something. But this right here is going to be a failure. You've already failed with Superman, and you've completely failed with Batman. I don't know how they're going to spin this. Unless this is not even Batman. Maybe it is just a robot Bruce Wayne has built. Maybe he's, back at Wayne Manor or in the Batcave or somewhere hiding, and he has this robot out there doing the work for him because he's injured or something like that. But I can tell you right now, if he's in that suit, this doesn't cut it. This doesn't cut it. DC has failed the DC fans at this point. And honestly, even if you said, well, it hasn't come out yet, how can you say that? I don't have to. Batman doesn't use a gun. He just doesn't. And there's a reason why Superman uses that cape and that suit. The suit is from Krypton. The materials are from Krypton. There's resistance. There's a resistance built into the suit against bullets, against fire, against wear and tear, unless you are a very powerful opponent. But the natural elements, it protects him against those things. It's not just some suit that was made, from elements on Earth. It's made from Krypton. These are things that these guys wear for a reason. So, and do for a reason. So this is actually really disappointing to learn about this.
Yeah. All right. So one last thing covering these new costumes. What's your favorite costume out of the whole deal?
Oh, my favorite costume would probably be Flash. without question. Flash is probably the most authentic, looks the most badass, and it's the Flash, bro. It's the Flash.
I think the Wonder Woman's my personal favorite. I think they finally dressed her up to the occasion. I know I think it came with the expense of Superman. They took away his stuff and gave it to her.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
no, I'm not a fan of
yeah.
Secretary Woman. Yeah, I'm not a fan of her at all.
All right. What's your least favorite? I know you got a lot to pick from, but
least favorite would have to be Wonder Woman. No, it definitely is not a fan of at all.
My least favorite's Batman. Assuming it is Batman, the Robo-Tick, just Robo-Tick. All right, moving on. All right, we as usual we have our soapbox to stand on today, and today is my turn. Last time it was something about anime and why they were stronger than Western heroes. This time around, I'm going to talk about Spider-Man. We're going to talk about Spider-Man in video games because this is a definite problem here. I am going to allow Kal El to form a counterpoint when I am done. I have my chance to step up. I'll go on in Hyde Park, go in Speaker's Quarter, and I'm going to roll. All right. Activision, Beanox, whoever is creating these terrible, and I mean terrible Spider-Man games. I can't tell you the last time I really, really enjoyed a Spider-Man game. And I play a lot of Spider-Man games. I will play a Spider-Man game even if it's bad. If they gave it a 2 out of 10, I would still play it. It's just a matter of when I'm going to pick it up, but I'm still going to play it. The last great Spider-Man game, I mean great, was Spider-Man 2, the movie license game that was on GameCube and PlayStation 2.
I agree.
That was a long damn time. That was a very long time ago. Probably the closest thing since then was Spider-Man Web of Shadows, but it still was under the shadow of Spider-Man 2.
I did like Web of Shadows. That was a really good one as well.
Now, the problem was, ever since then, they started doing, we're going to have Shattered Dimensions, that was okay. It had a lot of fan service, like bringing back old Spider-Man voice actors to go do it again. Since then, they had Edge of Time, which was terrible. Who thought of putting Spider-Man only in the Daily Bugle for an entire game? Who thought of that? That was dumb. They need to be fired. They need to be drawn and quartered. Take them out to the square. Kill them. End it. Terrible idea. The only saving grace of that game was that many alternate costumes. They had Hydra Spider-Man, 1605 or whatever Spider-Man, the Neil Gaiman special. They had just tons and tons of stuff, even like the smallest of smallest things, like the tailored suit by Leo Zielinski all the way back then, and like it was called Last Stand Spider-Man, and I can't believe they actually put that in that game. But that was the only saving grace of that game. That was it. I hated every other part of it, though. Everything was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the thing. Since that time, Spider-Man, you've had, 3 other games that have come out recently. You had Amazing Spider-Man, which was... the closest thing that was even remotely good was the web swinging, which it felt better, but they didn't have any rhyme or reasons to it. It didn't work. Like, your webs weren't even connected to buildings.
Yeah, that's terrible.
The fact that Spider-Man 2 on GameCube could do that, it should slap you upside the head to understand you couldn't even do that. I know Amazing Spider-Man 2 actually did that, but still haven't gotten around to playing that because you still insist on making me pay $40 for the game. I'm not doing that. So now there is a studio who is wrapping up a very, very successful superhero franchise called Rocksteady. Rocksteady makes good superhero games. And you know what their Batman Arkham series has been feeling a lot like? Spider-Man. The fact that you can glide, you can shoot grappling hooks, you can go really fast, have a very great, not to mention intuitive combat system. Like the whole, Batman can sense when he's about to be hit. Spider-Man kind of had that first. I'm just gonna put that in there. Spider-Man could do that. Like, it's even in the canon that he could do that. Why don't you just take some of those mechanics and bring it over to Spider-Man? You could even do a slow time mechanic for Spider-Sense.
Right.
It's all right there. You have a great New York to play around in. You could do whatever you want, Rocksteady. Please, Activision, if you have a brain, get Rocksteady. Anything. Contract them out to make the game. I guarantee I will throw money at it. I don't even pre-order games. I will pre-order this. Just please, dear God, please get Rocksteady to make a Spider-Man game. Please. That's it.
I think that there haven't been a lot of great Spider-Man games, but for that fact, there haven't been a lot of great superhero games. I mean, every superhero game that has come out actually has been a failure most of the time. Batman really, honestly, even since the Super Nintendo days, has really been the only franchise or only superhero that has been successful. If you really think about it, from the SNES up, most of his games have been pretty successful. And I think that's just because he's just a man in a suit with gadgets. It's easier to portray the character as a superhero with his gadgets and his, detective ability and being able to, use stealth and knock people out or use gas grenades compared to having super strength and swinging around buildings, because you really need an open space for that. Now, I agree that Rocksteady would be the perfect pair for Spider-Man, but I also think that, the approach has to be very careful, and it would have to literally reboot the entire franchise. They would have to start from the beginning. And I feel like they would have to have a hero that hasn't been used in Spider-Man lore. We just can't keep fighting the same heroes over and over. We can't keep fighting Green Goblin. We can't fight Mysterio. We can't fight Electro. It's just characters that we need to step away from. So maybe if they took Spider-Man, they gave him obviously Manhattan to swing around. I mean, he is from Flushing. The setting would be New York, obviously, which would be very, very cool. If they could do a point for point complete reconstruction of Manhattan, and you're able to maybe travel from borough to borough, from maybe, it doesn't have to be from borough. I guess you could say maybe from Queens to Brooklyn. And
or even have like Hell's Kitchen and have hero specific things there. There are tons of superheroes in New York.
Yeah,
there's Fantastic Four in the Baxter Building.
It's the Epic Center.
There's
you have
Hell's
X-Men
Kitchen
upstate.
with Daredevil.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of superheroes. That's without question. I just feel that if you're gonna do Spider-Man, you need to just concentrate on him. Maybe you can have references and things like that, but just like in Batman, you may have a reference, but it's rare that you get to see other superheroes tagging along in his games. I think that concentrating on Superman, I keep saying Superman, concentrating on Spider-Man and being able to have him move from Manhattan to Queens seamlessly, going across one of New York City's many bridges, going into Manhattan from the Throgsnet Bridge, or going across, the Brooklyn Bridge into Brooklyn, and maybe intertwining some of the boroughs, reconstructing the city in that way, I think would be really, really awesome, because it gives him such a large playground. And we know that swinging from building to building covers so much ground. So it makes a lot of sense to do that. I just think that if they did do it, it would probably have to be a reboot. And it would probably be more gritty, more colorful. Not colorful, excuse me, more gritty and darker than normal.
I could see Morlun being the villain of this particular game. It's a character no one's really tried to touch. It's a very complex, dark character, and it could be something where I keep thinking of the evolution story where Peter finally gets the ability to shoot webs out of his hands, where he doesn't have to actually have web shooters and stuff, or something along those lines, where you have Morlun as the villain, and he's like this insurmountable force, and it's Spider-Man leading up to his death. He knows he's going to die, and he's setting things in order and finishing up business. and eventually it gets to the point where I can see the game ending on whatever note they want to end it with, and ending up with he's actually more powerful than he's ever been before, and setting it up for more games in the future. But yeah, on to the versus battle. Why most of you are here today, because this versus battle is going to get fiery. So today we were kind of like we were going to spitballing ideas a little earlier, and we were trying to think of a good pairing. Not a lot of people talk about or really get into. This is what I've seen people throw around a little bit, but will be a little more interesting to talk about. The matchup today is GhostRider versus Spawn. And this is going to be a lot of fun. We're not talking about, for this particular argument, we're arguing base level characters here. We're not talking Omega Spawn or alternate reality GhostRider or something like that. We're talking base characters, Johnny Blaze, Al Simmons. We're talking about these guys in particular. So we're going to start off with Spawn. And Cal, I think you're taking up Spawn today.
Yes, no, I grew up, reading Spawn comics. It's one of the first heroes that I was really into. And honestly, it is not to bring up race, but look, the reality of it is that you don't see a lot of, minorities in comics. I mean, now they've been doing that more often, but when I grew up in, the 90s, there weren't a lot of black superheroes like that. There were only a few. Honestly, I really just found out about Blade in early 2000. I didn't even know Blade existed prior to 2000. So, but it wasn't a lot. But Al Simmons was one of them. And, unfortunately, he had to go to hell to become a superhero. But before that, he was an assassin and a special operations soldier. Very talented, in many weapons, and a, high degree martial artist. And was very good at what he did, which was kill. Very similar to Wolverine, just without the hundreds of years of experience. But in his own right, a very formidable character, only to lose his life, only to be, betrayed to a certain extent, and pretty much pay for all the deaths that he has caused on Earth, and been sent to hell, eventually becoming a hell spawn with, unbelievable, unimaginable powers. So to get to Spawn, and for you to understand the type of character that Spawn is a hell spawn created by Malbolgia, which I guess you can say is the equivalent of Satan himself. And once he gets on Earth, he's followed around by a watcher called the Violator. This guy is the person that's supposed to watch Spawn, watch what he does, make sure that he stays on track, and bring souls to hell. But Al does not care about that. He only cares about Wanda, his wife. He only cares about trying to be with her, because when he comes back after 5 years, he doesn't remember who he is. He only remembers it like it was yesterday, like he was just there. So, realizing that he's not who he was, that his face is literally almost just rotted flesh and bone, it's very frustrating for him. And you come to find out that instead of him being this person that works for Malbolgia, he actually turns on him, and he becomes the anti-hero. He's neither good, he's neither bad. A lot of things that he can care less about. But in other instances, he usually protects his ally. And some of the abilities that he has, obviously, like I said earlier, he is a phenomenal martial artist, very well worked. Like I said earlier, he's a phenomenal martial artist. He's very well trained and versed in all types of weaponry, from swords to guns. And the greatest weapon of all is his suit. And what a lot of people may not know, and I'm sure some of you do, is that the suit is actually a living entity in itself. It's actually a symbiotic suit similar to Venom. And the suit just has all these amazing powers, but it feeds off of the necroplasm that's in him, that was given to him by Malbolgia himself. And he could feed off of that necroplasm as well. So it's kind of like a give and take. But the greatest thing about it is that he literally can create any bladed weapon in the entire world. I mean, from swords to chainsaws. He walks around with chains that he uses almost like a whip. The cape by far is one of his greatest allies. Even when he's unconscious, it can defend him. It literally protects him while he's unconscious. He can wrap it around himself and it can make complete armor. He can wrap it around a vehicle and make it armored. He can wrap it around himself and completely cloak, and you won't even see him. He'll blend in with any environment like a chameleon. So then a very formidable opponent. And the fact that he's able to do this to his body, using the cape, using his hands, his feet, just all these different weapons, having this power, literally, I guess you could say, a piece of Satan. And, you know, it's not something that we like to talk about in that regard, but in the comic book world, Malebolgia is a very powerful, formidable opponent. And if you have a piece of Satan within you, that makes you a very powerful opponent in the human world. And some of the demons even fear him. I mean, there's been plenty of times that he's crushed the Violators, but and send them back to hell plenty of times. So he's a very, very formidable opponent. Somebody that can't be easily taken out. Bullets don't stop him. Guns don't stop him. Blades, barely hurt him. But he does have a weakness. I'll leave that up to you to find out. But the reality of it is, Spawn is a very formidable opponent and really, really knows no fear. And I think that when you look at his arsenal, when you look at his skill set, he's one of the few superheroes out there that can be beaten in a one-on-one confrontation.
All right, now as you guys know, it is time for GhostRider here. We're going to talk about GhostRider. Now, I really do dig GhostRider, but I never really got into his storylines, though, so I'm not too up to date on everything what he's able to do. We're talking about Johnny Blaze here, the original GhostRider in many respects. But I did do my research for that kind of stuff, so we will see how it goes. Johnny Blaze, a daredevil who was tricked into signing a deal with the devil to save his father figure's life, was bonded with the spirit of vengeance, Zarathos, and together they became GhostRider. Now, on the physical level, there's pretty much nothing in existence that can really hurt him. He's taken blows from the Hulk, and being far stronger, he's even gone toe-to-toe with Thor, and simply just regenerated, despite having his skull destroyed altogether. He's essentially invulnerable to any physical attacks except weapons crafted in heaven, which to my knowledge Spawn does not have at his disposal. Not only this, but his powers range frequently depending on who is in control, Johnny Blaze or Zarathos, but the constants have always been superhuman strength, durability, limitless stamina, and hellfire manipulation. Those have always been the constants. His weaponry has always included having his bike and chain, both of which have been able to be manipulated regardless of physical contact, much kind of like his shield in many, Spawn's cape in many regards. Right. It's able to operate basically without his immediate thought. His chains especially have been able to transform into other weapons and emit from any part of his body. Mm-hmm. His bike is also able to move on his own, which would trip up Spawn, who would have to fight on two fronts, not only GhostRider being the main threat, but having the bike zip around and cause a little chaos in the midst as well. And on top of all that, we also have the Penance Stare, his signature move in many regards. This move makes all the pain and anguish the subject who is being penance stared has ever done to others reflect upon them based on their own guilt. And we all know Spawn is a walking guilt trip. only two people have been able to resist this, the first being Doctor Strange. He was actually only able to recover under unusual circumstances, having to have angels and gods step in many regards to just recover him. Mm-hmm. And Punisher being because he regrets absolutely nothing that he ever did. So it was actually that tripped up Johnny Blaze and actually made them almost lose. While Blaze lacks combat training, Blaze is a daredevil. He's not a particularly adept fighter of any sorts. He more than makes up for that in his sheer amount of power. He has proven to be adept at some hand-to-hand combat, but he's not particularly, he doesn't particularly need it. Right. You don't really need to whenever you could basically fight heaven and hell and win. Mm-hmm. Now, I guess that pretty much wraps up my argument.
Well, we leave it up to the fans. No, we'll leave it up to the fans. I mean, you guys, I'm sure some of you fans out there know who Spawn is. Some of you guys out there know who GhostRider is, and you guys are out there for a reason. It's up to you to decide who you think will win in the battle. You leave it in the comments section. We'll check it out. We'll leave our comments. And, in my opinion, I still think Spawn would win. Even though he does go on a guilt trip, one of the greatest things about Spawn is that he's able to recover himself with the good deeds that he does, with the things that he does, which actually makes him get closer to heaven in a way, which allows him to use those heavenly swords that needs to be used on GhostRider. So, but that's neither here nor there. It's up to you guys to decide who you want. I saw some people chose Green Arrow last week, and others chose Daredevil last week. So it's up to you guys again this week to make a decision on who you think would win, and we will be watching.
All right, and before we leave you guys up today, what are we watching today, Cal? What are we watching?
I think this week you guys need to check out on Crunchyroll if you have it. If you don't have it in your queue, definitely queue up The Irregular at Magic High School. Very awesome anime about a kid who comes in and supposedly has no magic ability whatsoever, but he's very skilled in something else. Also, on top of that, he's undercover. He's actually not just a student. He's an undercover special agent, a very powerful special agent that if you watch this anime, you'll find out what the conspiracy is happening at this high school. Very interesting anime in itself. I actually really like it a lot. The other anime that you guys need to check out on Crunchyroll this week is Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail is a very interesting saga, and there's a big difference between a saga and a small epic. Some of the small epics that you can find are things like Sword Art Online, where you only have maybe 20, 30, 40 episodes. These sagas could span up to 3, 4, 5, even 700 episodes. So Fairy Tail is a saga in itself. Really great anime about a young boy named Natsu who was raised by a dragon, one of the last in the entire world. And he has all of the abilities of this dragon, including the ability to eat fire, which gives him, even more power and even more strength. And he belongs to a magic guild called Fairy Tail. So definitely check it out. It's a really, really great dynamic of how you see all these people with different powers and different abilities, and you learn that no, he is not the only dragon hunter in the world. There are other dragon hunters, and there's a really great story that evolves along the saga, which is actually still running to this day. And finally, the final anime that you guys should be checking out is World Break, Aria of Curse for a Holy Swordsman. Now, the cool thing about this anime is that it's about these kids that go to this high school, and they used to have, I guess you could say, you ever heard of how people had past lives? In a past life, these people were heroes. Whether you were a villain or a hero, you don't know until you start to remember the past memories of your soul. And it just so happened that one of the main characters of the story happens to have the ability to not only be a phenomenal swordsman, but also have the ability to project magic at the same time. And that's something that doesn't happen very often. Is you just either you're a great hand-to-hand combat person or you're a great magician, and he happens to be both. So there's a small harem dynamic to it if you are into those things, which I am. I actually like anime like that. It's very funny, very comedic in a sense, but it's a lot of great action, very cool characters, and a really cool story, and that's something to check out. And my throwback from last season, if you have not watched this anime, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Attack on Titan. Please watch Attack on Titan. This is an anime that you must see. It is gritty, it is grimy, it is heart-pounding, and the greatest thing about it, it has one hell of a twist of an ending. You need to watch this anime. So definitely check out Attack on Titan. I heard they'll be going to be playing it on actually TV in the US. On Funimation late nights. I don't know exactly what day, but you can check your local listings for that in English. That's dubbed. But I prefer Japanese. I prefer subtitles. So if you have Crunchyroll or you have Hulu Plus or Hulu, just check it out. You can see it on there. The first season on there, and I believe the second season is supposed to be coming out this summer. So stay tuned for that. I'll keep you guys posted on what's hot in the anime world and what's hot to check out in the throwback. And we'll see you next week. Anchor?
And I have one last thing to add to your list. I just finished watching a series on Netflix because I like watching things dubbed. I like to see. I don't like having to read because I want to watch facial expressions at the same time. I got stuff to do. I understand you want to have the original vibe of the flowing Japanese, but I prefer to get facial expressions at the same time. So that's what I prefer, at least. So I just got done watching Dead Man Wonderland. It's actually a cool little anime. There was an event that occurred in this area that now became a prison that is based on a carnival of sorts, and it's a place where they have certain inmates with certain special powers fight to the death or fight until they lose limbs and other things for science. Damn it,
Yeah.
for science.
Yeah, no,
And it's a great anime. Check it out. The only downside is there's only one season currently available, but it is a great one to watch.
It definitely is. It's a good anime. And just to touch on the subtitle thing, when you do it enough, it becomes natural. You see the words and you see the person's facial expression at the same time. It's just all there on the screen. So practice makes perfect, guys. Practice makes perfect. But the greatest thing about watching it in Japanese is that you get, like you said, the true feeling of what they were trying to express at that time. And sometimes dubbed animes sound stupid, like Naruto's Believe It, that he used to say all the time in English, which sounded so moronic. I'm so glad that he doesn't say that anymore. But that's something that you guys should definitely learn to watch and read at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And why don't you close us out?
Yeah, so, we want to thank everybody for checking out this week's episode of the Multiverse. We'll be back probably either next week or the week after with our next episode. Also, don't forget that we have the question for you guys to win the $25 iTunes gift card. What is the name? What is my son's middle name? You can check that out in last week's episode. This week's episode will be on Tick Podcast. Again, this is a Tick Podcast and Anchorman production, so we'll be trading off on certain episodes, and this week's episode will be on the Tick Podcast channel, and you can check out the first episode on Anchorman's channel. And we'll have both links for both episodes in the bottom of both descriptions. So we really appreciate everybody for coming out, and we hope to see you guys on our next episode 3 of the Multiverse.
All right, see you guys later.
Peace.